good evening, good morning, wherever you are joining us from. Welcome to D365 User Group Midlist. So today we are hosting our new sessions on Agentic series. And thank you so much for Vesa for accepting our invite to present for our user group. And it will be a very great learning on all the Microsoft Ignite updates and seeing how Microsoft is shaping the agentic world. And we are already fired up. And Vesa, if you can share your screen, I'd like to quickly give you your intro.
Thank you, Venkatesh, for inviting me. And yes, I will. Just a bit of holdback. I'm not going to go through all Ignite updates. There's just too many of them, but I will go through some, and hopefully they are kind of the interesting ones. And there's so many updates and announcements from Microsoft during the Ignite, so it's kind of a really big number of things. I'm not going to touch the Microsoft Foundry. So while the PowerPoint, for some reason, it's okay. All right, let's try again. So for a moment, I thought my Teams crashed. So let's try to share again. And it just happens sometimes, but yeah. So there's, of course, a lot of different announcements. And one of those is the Microsoft Foundry. So the Azure AI Foundry is no more. It's Microsoft Foundry. Don't worry, it didn't go away, but instead it changed the name. But there's also the new UI. So if in case you've been playing around with Foundry, try to switch on the new user experience and you will see something that's totally different. But I'm not going to cover Foundry, not today. This is about more on the Microsoft 365 side. And I have picked up a few things from there. And of course, we will have some live demos as well. So my name is Vesa Nopanen. Everybody calls me Vesku, so please feel free to. I'm a principal consultant for Sulava MIA. So that's a Sulava Middle East and Africa operations. Our headquarters are at Dubai, but yes, I live in Finland. I'm currently physically in Turku, Finland, but next week I will be visiting Dubai again. So I will be traveling there now and then. And as part of Sulava MIA, it's kind of a great place to work with because we were awarded to become the partner of the year by Microsoft in Copilot and agents. So that's really the category that matters. And for the company of our size, that's like a very big achievement. So we are very proud of that, of course. But feel free to reach out to me, read my blog, and some of the stuff I'm going to show today are in the blog I just posted less than about an hour ago. But feel free to connect with me at LinkedIn. Of course, you can find me there. So I'm a Microsoft MVP for Microsoft 365 and Foundry. All right, so what we are going to be covering. I'm going to tell a few things about WorkIQ and then touch the project Opal a bit. And because that's a very interesting, let's say, news or announcements that's coming up. I won't be able to demo at all, which is a shame. I really hope I would be able to do that, but that's not possible for me yet. Then I will talk a bit about the Agent 365 that was announced as well. And then going for more like the end user friendly stuff in the Office agents and about live working part. And finally going to the demos. And yes, we will be starting to build an agent with Copilot Studio Lite as well. But first about what is WorkIQ. So you probably know Context IQ in Microsoft World. So it's a system built on top of the Microsoft Graph. So it has different kinds of signals. So it knows, okay, who are you working with, and what kind of meetings you have, and what kind of documents you are editing, and so on and so on. But WorkIQ combines this work data. It adds there to memory about, okay, what have you been doing, and what, especially now we are connecting this with the AI, so Copilot. okay, what kind of a memory there is, what kind of actions, and how you are using all this to understand the kind of okay, what you are doing and how the organizations are using the AI there. So it's basically integrating the work data, your habits and insights, so it can provide you personalized experiences and recommendations. So it's kind of an intelligent layer, AI layer on top of the Microsoft Graph and everything there. And Copilot learns from your style and what you're doing and kind of a work patterns, what you're doing. So it can bring you relevant suggestions and so on. And of course, it works on Microsoft 365. So it respects permissions, sensitivity labels, and compliance, and so on. So this is the core there. You will have WorkIQ, and all your applications will be utilizing WorkIQ. So you are using Word, Outlook, Teams, and so on. And Copilot is there, of course, as well. So it's getting signals all the time, but also these applications will be benefiting from the WorkIQ and its signals. And finally, okay, let's see if I can switch the slide there. And it will also work with agents. Now, this is the kind of a key thing. So you can tap into this WorkIQ intelligence. So you have this intelligence layer. So your agents will be kind of able to utilize this information as well. And so this will be available through to the agents with Copilot Studio, or perhaps you are using APIs and do some pro code development there. And so this is going to be a very interesting world when the agents will be able to kind of get this information and utilize information. Okay, how is the organization working, or what kind of knowledge the agents should have about all this. But don't worry, it's not going to take your personal information or how you are doing utilizing it. When agents are using it, they have to respect, of course, the agent's boundaries as well. But basically, your company's knowledge is going to be much more widely used than it has been used before. When the WorkIQ is hitting the Microsoft 365, I don't know yet. I didn't saw that information. Perhaps it was mentioned, but I missed it. But it's going to be coming there probably gradually. So you will be seeing enhancements bit by bit when they start rolling out. I suspect it's going to happen like early next year for some of the features at least. So, and the next part that I mentioned was the Project Opal. So what is this? So this is when AI and agentic AI is becoming very interesting. I was really curious and excited when I was seeing the Project Opal in demos. So this is basically, as it says, new way to execute task-based work. So you have advanced reasoning models. Yes, we have GPT-5 and deep reasoning and chat and so on. But Opal combines this with computer use. So it's a computer using model, so it can understand what's happening on the screen. So in the computer use, it's basically taking screenshots of the information, what it sees on the computer screen. So it's running this computer behind the scenes on a cloud PC. So it's able to execute these tasks on behalf of the user. So it's no longer just going kind of doing what's limited to the APIs, but instead the agent will see the screen and take actions, be able to read the screen and fill in the information, push buttons and so on. So that's the computer use. And now with the Opal, it's going to be connected to this basically to the agent that's going to be creating tasks or executing tasks. So there was one screenshot about it. We can see there's a plan about what was asked to be to Opal to be doing. It's going to provide information, use the computer, and let the user know about the activities it's taking. So perhaps it's doing the onboarding process, perhaps it's doing something else. There's a few ideas what it could be doing. It might be going through the compliance audit process, or have a coordination on the invoice, getting information. New hire onboarding is probably going to be one of those. Hey, it can do a lot of things that the normal agent won't be able to do unless you start building like APIs and a lot of functionalities there, or you have a lot of MCP servers or something, and so on. So there's going to be a lot of different use cases where you can start utilizing computer use agents. And the thing is that Opal is going to be controlled, and it's part of the Microsoft 365, utilizing the cloud PC. So you have all these security boundaries in place. So that's one of the interesting updates that I found very useful, and I think it's going to require the Intune license. So that's what I'm missing at the moment. So in my demo environment, so with the Intune license and activating the Opal there, with the Microsoft 365 license, then you could start get started trying things out. It's not kind of a very end user friendly setup yet, but it will be. So it's in really, really early phases. You have to be in the Frontier program as well. So you have to enable the tenant to be in the Frontier and so on. But then speaking on the agents and how do you manage this? Then one of the big things was, of course, the Agent 365. So this is part of the Microsoft 365 Admin Center. So when you are starting to deploy more and more AI agents, you have to think about the workflow and the IT. Okay, how do you manage this? And how do you kind of see, okay, what kind of agents we have, how many agents we have, and then how do you do that? So in the Ignite, this was announced as it's a control plane for agents. So as a plane, as a level, okay, this is where we are looking at all our agents. So it can show you the agents on that has been created with Copilot Studio, Azure AI Foundry. They are created in Copilot Studio Lite, and so you can manage all of them. So you can start thinking about monitoring and securing and controlling agents through the Agent 365. And this is already in the Microsoft 365 Admin Center. So you can start doing that. So you can start monitoring your agents as well. So it's in preview. Yes, you have to be in the Frontier program for that. And it's not kind of a single product, but it's kind of a bundling different capabilities together, although it's packed to be the single one. But that's a very good way or new way to, okay, this is what agents we have and what we want to do. So it's kind of a unified platform to manage your agents. But it extends beyond that. It goes to the threat protection with the Defender and so on. And now, as you probably know, is that you can your agents already have Entra ID as well. So a lot of the agents will have the Entra ID. So there's an agent ID, and agents will have the unique ID that you can start to utilize to, okay, let's have controls on that, and we can manage them more and more like ordinary employees, just like a user account. We have an agent account. So and when we can start giving up role-based and access to things and start to putting conditional access policies and start to secure our environment. So this is about the control plane of the Agent 365. But in fact, Agent 365 is going to be more than that. Well, Agent 365 provides those MCP servers, by the way, for the Outlook, Teams, and Word. So you can start utilizing those. So Venkatesh, once you start building your MCP agents or agents using MCP, you can take a look at those as well, how you would be connecting to that information. But there's going to be more to the Agent 365 because it's also an SDK. Not SDK, but it's a subscription as well, a SKU. Lots of different terms. So with the SKU, you will be able to take this to that to the control level. Okay, we can be creating this or activating these different agents from templates, give them the agentic SKU, so they will be able to utilize your company's resources. The sales development agent should be the first one. It was supposed to be already launched, but hey, after 1st of December, so it's still technically after, so it's not late yet. But so basically, we will have soon the first template agent. And then once IT activates template agent, that's happening through the Agent 365 as well. So you can start putting okay, let's have a SKU for or a license for the agent and then start giving it more permissions and what it can do. So that's how it's going to work. So that's why Agent 365 is going to be very, very important. And because it's all about management. On the Foundry, there's also a new control plane for agents as well. I'm not going to go for that, but you can monitor agents and do some performance checking and tuning and security stuff in there as well. So that's in the new Foundry. Now, okay, this was the hard IT pro side or kind of management side, but this is really one of the big things of Ignite. How do you manage this? How do you are giving your agents their own identity, you're giving them a license. So you can start giving it more permissions and control it better and better. But don't worry, you don't need that license for everything. You have your Agent 365 there already that you can check out. If you go to the Microsoft 365 Admin Center, you can just turn on the preview and check it out if you are in Frontier. And that's, by the way, a screenshot from my Devo environment. So it's there, it's alive. Yeah, then about agents and more about the Office agents. I thought I was putting the video to autoplay, but anyway, so there are these Office agents coming. I can already see them in my environments, but they just don't work yet. So that's why I resolved it on the video. And these agents are bringing the capability to create Word and Excel and PowerPoint documents right to the Microsoft 365 Copilot chat. So instead of opening the Word to create a PowerPoint, for example, like it's rolling there, you are asking that PowerPoint to be created with the chat. And it will open it and start creating it behind the scenes. So this is definitely going to be the one step forward that, hey, do we really need to open the PowerPoint to be able to generate a presentation? No, we can just get started, use it in Copilot Studio, in Copilot Chat, and then create the presentation. Of course, we will open it in PowerPoint after that. And that's the same for Excel. So we have different kind of data, information. Hey, let's build that Excel. And like we see in that PowerPoint example, it can create quite a good looking PowerPoints. And I think that's going to be in par or better what we are already seeing today at PowerPoint. I think it's in the Frontier, these are in the Frontier program, but unfortunately it's stating, hey, your organization is not in the Frontier program when you start to use them, even when we are. So they worked for a moment and then I'm waiting for them to come back again. But these are really something to take a look at when you can get your hands to those. They require, of course, the Copilot license there. Then the other part that was a very agentic part with the Microsoft 365 apps is the agent mode. So we can start to talk about the vibe working. So just like there's vibe coding, where we are coding with the GitHub Copilot or something else, it's changing the code. We have now the same capabilities in Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. So you can just work alongside the AI. You are telling AI to do these things, and it could be quite complex as well if you want. You can give it more kind of a, hey, generate me this, or in the case of Excel, hey, let's give it more kind of conditions and rules, and it will go ahead and start changing your worksheet. So it's a very powerful feature. I've been testing it out a bit already, and so it's definitely worth checking on. If you have a Copilot license, you can go to the web version, and you have to be in the early phase, so it's still in preview. But this will start rolling out to GA. I think it's starting now, about nowish, and it should be completed by February. So that's these are coming already to your Excel, Word, and PowerPoint. So you can just ask Copilot to edit directly something on your presentation or your document and so on. So it's basically you are co-creating these with the AI. So you can ask it to do things, hey, replace that bulleted list with something else, or hey, can you replace the text and so on. So these are really, let's say, very agentic ways that you can work with your documents. And this is the way we are going forward. We are using that, but hey, perhaps we will start to use speech soon. Okay, hey, I need this kind of a document and I need this and this there, and agent is doing the changes. So we don't have to type it ourselves. Currently, yes, we have to go on with the typing part. All right, I think I'm going to start showing you some demos because this is I already spent enough time on this on the deck. So let me just jump and share my screen. And now that I just said to you that, hey, we are that agent mode is available in Word and PowerPoint and Excel, that's not actually true. Because you also, let me just put the chat on display there on my other screen so I can see if somebody puts there, because it's also available in Copilot Pages. So let's not use the researcher. I'm just going to refresh just in case. So this is a demo environment I have. And if you want to see how the agent mode is working in the Copilot page, I'm going to show you the example. So you're going to see that anyway. So let me just put on the GPT-5 first on. And at this point, I have to be in the web. So if I want the Copilot to create the page right away, I could be doing stuff in the work and then, but okay, let me show this one first. So let's create a page for onboarding digital employees for the organization. I have GPT-5 on and the web is on, and I'm in the Frontier program, of course, as well. So this user is utilizing this. So what's happening is now instead of me opening or adding things to page, Copilot is starting to do that already. So it's creating the page there. Just we have this vibe mode on, so it's giving me and putting the information directly to the page. That's not bad. It's quite fast, so it created the page already and suggesting things. But hey, let's add a chapter about Agent 365 governance to this one. And we should have it there somewhere. It's doing the changes all the time. Let me see. Rewriting the page. That's taking a few moments longer than my tests, but let me just scroll back and forth a bit and let it complete. So we can see from the bottom of the screen there, okay, there's this icon and it's changing and it's updating the content, just having a demo effect here, having a bit of delay, and it's wondering what to add there. Okay, there's the RASI matrix. Okay, somebody has a mic open. Do you have a question? currently not.
No, yes, great.
Okay, so let's see if I have, if it was able to do it. It usually did that on my tests, but let's see, governance, guardrails, checklist, rations, risks, templates. There we have Agent 365 governance. So it's a short chapter. I could be, can you expand the Agent 365 governance chapter? After add some examples. So we can ask it to recreate some of the content. And this is a Copilot page. I can be editing it. I can edit it. I can invite other people there. Now it's already changed. ChatGPT has the similar canvas that has been there for a long time. But I think this has a lot of promise because you can connect with your corporate information here as well. So I could be just doing whatever I want to do on these Copilot pages. These are loop pages, as you probably know. And I can mention my colleagues there. If I want somebody to join, I can change anything and then ask Copilot to continue changes and do something there. So if I go to work mode, yes, I have a bit of things. Let me just let's see if this works. I didn't try this. It's always great to try something ad hoc. So let's get information from the work. This is our demo company we are using, and as you can see, okay, I didn't have the GPT-5 on. So let me just try again. So this is the part that's annoying because I have to turn it on separately. So, but hopefully it will soon be on by default. Okay, and now, to my surprise, it's actually creating the page from the work side as well. This didn't happen before, so I'm happy it has been improving. And now it's getting the information from the work. And so I have these sources there that it's going to be using, and then creating the page. This is not something the ChatGPT can do. And then I can start expanding or doing different things here. But there's also new things like you can create a document or presentation out of the page, and there are Copilot shortcuts here on the corner. I can make it adding details, make it shorter. These are just prompts. Change to the blog post, and it will just change the content into a blog, and it will go through the agent mode and create the page as the blog post. So I think this is pretty cool, right? And I wrote my recent blog post with this. I was using the agent mode, of course. I was talking about the agent mode, so it makes sense. But I've had to test it out, but more like when I'm really using it, what's the result? So let's try one more thing, and I think this is the one that you need to have the web on, otherwise it won't work, is that instead of just writing pages, how about creating an application or a visualization? So let's try this. Let's create an application that can to manage submissions to different community events. App should allow users to rate events on criteria such as location and so on, and submit new sessions and give it a few ideas and so on. So what it's doing, it's writing React. I don't know if you saw this demo at Ignite. It was pretty cool. And it's not complete like workings application. That's not the case. So you are not, if you just thought, hey, I can write a application with this, it's kind of a visual layer. So you can try out, create your UI for your application or try out new things with this, and you will have the code. So it's generating the code, as we can see, it's generating React code there all the time. Okay, this is working like that, and I'm going to get. Hopefully, it's not writing too many hundred lines more, but let's let it run there for a few moments. And now it's complete, so we can just turn on the preview, okay, or in a moment. Something is froze. I hope it didn't froze totally. We just load the demo effects, right? Okay, now it resolved. So it said, okay, there's the interface and everything what was done. So it will explain you the logic, and it's an in-memory event submission, so it doesn't record these anywhere. But we have the application, so I could be adding there an event. So let's add experts live Riyadh, and let's post kingdom. Okay, let's just use the KSA, and we might have a date somewhere in the next year or whenever it is happening, and so I guess we have to put more information before we can enter it, and save. So we have a new event, and I can submit. So let's see, this isn't doing anything when I'm clicking much, but here, there, it's changing it. So perhaps I want to submit a session there, and this time I'm just doing test, and level. So we are doing that kind of session, and just add it there. So we have different sessions there, and we can start perhaps rating these as well. So we have a great location and so on. So this is interesting how this is going to be adding, allowing you to create all this. Okay, I can even have an edit option here already, so I don't have to ask for that. But I could be changing this application by doing changes, just asking it, hey, add something, do something. And so, yes, this is in memory, and I can have to see the code as well if I want to. So I have the preview and the code. And let's see if I change this to Python, then I have a Python code there. The React is the only one that's going to be in this one, or perhaps we want something else. So we have a lot of options here to choose from. I'm not sure how all of those really work, but let's jump back to React, and we can open the preview. I think this is pretty cool way how you are building like having the agentic AI working for you. So you are starting to create even more visual things on this if you want. Just think about whatever you want to do there. And if you have an app builder application, you can create an application out of this, but you won't be able to edit it after that. So there's some limitations, at least at the moment. So is this cool? No? Okay.
Yes, Vesa, of course it is cool.
Because I think this is really cool. Like, how do you create that? And I think the best thing is that if you are a developer or you can copy this code. So you can go to the go there and copy code and start utilizing in your own application. All right. So that was that part. Now we start building an agent. So if you have a Microsoft 365 Copilot license, you hopefully have already created your first agents when you are into Microsoft 365 Copilot application here. So this is the application. And you can see there are different agents. Of course, you have availability to utilize a lot of agents from Microsoft. You have probably your own. Perhaps you have heard about researcher analyst and you can use them. But what we want to do is that, of course, we will want to create our own agent. So there's a new agent in front there from Microsoft, and even the SharePoint page agent that's going to basically agent mode and generate your new posts or pages to SharePoint. That's nice, or create new workflows. But we want to create our own new. agent. So this is the very simple way. This is the end user, business, knowledge worker, anybody needing, hey, I need an agent that does things for me, and I can start getting started very easily. Of course, you can utilize these templates if you want, but and I could be checking them out, and you can get good ideas from there. Just go and okay, let's go to meeting coach, and you just click the template, and it's going to generate you the agent. And then at the configure, you can see okay what kind of instructions these agents have. And if you haven't been doing this is a good way to check out okay what should be in the instructions. Go through the templates, check them out. So let's go and create a fresh one. And you can have two ways. You can go to configure and start filling everything, start from the scratch, fill up everything for the agent. It's not difficult, but if you just want to use an AI a bit, hey, let's create a new agent here. And this time I'm going to create an agent that's analyzing Excel files. So, and I'm going to explain a few things there, but I got a couple of Excel files from the open data in UAE, and so I can utilize that and show it okay how it can understand and create insights from those files. So let's ask it to create a new agent. Just in backup, it's there already, but hey, here's the Excel, this one, and Education Workforce Analyzer. Yes, that sounds like a good name, so we can just utilize it. And so what it has created me is it has the agent basically, it has description and some starter or recommended prompts. Now it updated the name as well. And I could continue and ask it to do a few things, but instead I'm going to go for configure. So here you can, of course, you can give it your agent a name or give a name and give it a good description. In the future, the other agents can utilize your agent as well. But the instructions are the heart and soul of the agent. So, okay, what it should be doing, what's the behavior, what's the process, what are the tasks it should be doing, what it should know about those. In this case, I was trying to ask it to be a bit generic, so I'm not tied to the specific Excel file, but instead I can drop in some education Excel files there. Then the next part, in agents, you might want to use, or you will use knowledge. But if you don't have a Copilot license, you have some limitations or a lot of limitations here. You can only use web. But since we have a Copilot license for this user, I could start adding files from SharePoint. I can add Teams chats, conversation, meetings, meeting transcriptions, emails, and websites to the agent, so it can utilize them. So if I just click here, I can start pasting URLs if I want to. I can paste up to 4 public URLs if I need to. They can be only 2 levels deep, so they can't be too deep there. But so for example, website /level 1 /level 2, and that's the maximum. But from here, I could just select, hey, get through everything I have access in SharePoint, everything I have access in Teams. So in Teams chats and meetings transcriptions, or just my emails. If you create this agent and share it to somebody else, this becomes their access to SharePoint, their Teams chats and meetings, their emails. The agent doesn't give the person the access to your emails. It's always following the permissions. If you upload files to this agent, I could be drag and drop in these Excel files now here, and then they become embedded into the agent. So anybody who has access to the agent will have access to those data sources as well. But yeah, so that's the way. So we can start thinking about, hey, I need to add some files, PDFs, TXT here. This is a very simple one. This is an easy way to create an agent. These agents don't have actions. These agents don't have triggers. They only trigger based on the user input. they are not automated, so they can't call other agents either as well. But these are very versatile because I've seen so many business cases. Like there's one customer who had a lot of information in a very wide Excel file, and they needed to summarize it, and they had lots of different tabs there in the Excel, so different sheets, and they had to go through them manually. But now agent can do that for them. And it doesn't have to be always very special, but something, okay, I'm spending time here and doing this. So I can upload files, or I can just go ahead and discover a certain, let's go to that one. Perhaps I have a certain folder, or I just want to select certain files. I think here I have a bit more. Yeah, there I could be selecting specific folders and so on. And I can add up to 100 files from SharePoint there if I want. Or a lot of folders, because a folder can have a lot of files there, or if you add a site, everything's under the site is included in the agent. But always remember to make these more focused, because agents work best, they have a focused data source, focused information. So none of that had anything to do with this scenario, of course, because this is about analyzing Excel files. And I thought I will create this just like hey, let's make it happen easily. And I could be adding search all the websites, so it could be getting information from the web, or and if I adding some knowledge, very specific knowledge, I want to turn this on. Hey, only use the specified sources. And I can even add in the people references, so I can get the contact information of people and so on. But the key here is something called code interpreter. It's not telling that anymore here. It's create document, charts, and code. But this gives the agent the capability to generate Python code and run it. So this gives it a lot of superpowers. What it can do, analyzing, it can create graphs, and it can create Excel documents if you want, or PowerPoints and so on. Finally, you have the suggested or starter prompts here, so you can have these prompts there, so you can have a quick way for a user to get started. So let's change the name a bit. So I'm just going to put the Edu Excel Analyzer. So let's go with that, and it will update the that one there. During the testing phase, I can't drop any files here. So let me just create this agent. So we should be having the agent soon. All right, let's go to the agent. I could share it with the others, but I'm just going to drop in some file there. So let's upload a file. So there's teacher and administrative by gender, nationality, and emirate CSV that contains quite a lot of information. And okay, let's use this prompt, analyze this education and work for Excel file and provide key insights. So let's ask it to analyze it. I didn't specify what's in the file. It needs to figure it out itself. So, okay, let's do some analyzing. But this is a very easy way to create agents. So you have to think about, okay, what do you need? Do you have a project with project documentation? Perhaps I can create an agent that has access to the project information, so I can ask things from there. Okay, so it looks like there's an error, 11 columns, and try to rename for some reason. Okay, let's try again, fix the mismatch and run the full analysis. So it can kind of understand it. It may take a few loops here on getting that understanding part correct. So let's hope it works, or I just try out some other Excel file and see what it does. But from here we can see what it's doing. It's generating the Python code and trying to do things. This doesn't have deep reasoning capabilities, but it's just using the Copilot there So there's the analysis. All right, apply the manual mapping and finish it. So it still wasn't able to do it. So it ran into some issues. Perhaps a better instructions would be helpful here. And let's try this the last time and see if it finally works. Nothing. They always get some demo effects. Okay, and it failed as well. So let's try the try to let it run it, because it's still trying to do those things. And but with better prompting, you get better results, of course. This is funny how this sometimes happens. Sometimes this works just fine, and now it doesn't want to work at all. So let me try the other Excel file. It's a lot longer, but let's see if that one works, because I have another example for you as well. And with Excel, you can also then or when you ask it to analyze things, you can also ask it to generate the Excel file, or you can ask it to generate a Word file of the result. So what's really powerful is that Excel generation. So you analyze information, perhaps you have CSVs like this one, and then you want an Excel out of that has the result. This is one of the earlier results of this that I created. So there was clean data, so it did the data cleaning. For some reason, that one worked like charm for this one. It went through the first attempt, but it creates different sheets there about, okay, there's summary stats, grouped analysis, trends, and so on. And I was also asking for the executive summary. So that's there. That was there too. So let's see what it's doing. So it's generating insights this time from the other file. So it had 5,000 rows, so it's reading a lot of information there and getting information about pass and fail rates in the region, and doing some analysis by different factors. And I could, there's the executive summary. Can you create an Excel file out of findings for me, please? So let's ask it to generate that one. And it should be able to generate it. But here's the executive summary in the text. But this is a very powerful way. Sometimes it has better results, but it's all about, okay, how much do you prompt? What do you want? What's the result you want out of that? And yes, I have been using Copilot in my daily workflow. But even if you have a Microsoft 365 license and you don't have a Copilot, then you can still utilize it, but not like you won't be able to upload these files there. So let me just go to the other one and create an other agent quickly, because I think that's we all like Ignite News. So let's let it create an agent. And this example, actually I save a bit of time and go directly to my other one where I have created that. This user doesn't have a Copilot license. This has a Microsoft 365 license, but not a Copilot license. So what I have created with that prompt, so this prompt, if I started to create it, it starts to create an agent. And so this one had some, okay, what's the description and the instructions. But the instructions are not what were created by this, but instead I used Copilot in GPT-5 mode to generate better instructions. So I wanted it to include more information and more topics there. So I could start asking, okay, summarize the keynote findings. And this has the knowledge sources, because this user doesn't have a Copilot license. It has less options available. It shouldn't have even SharePoint here, but sorry, I have a pay-as-you-go setup, so probably that has finally in effect. But basically, you would have the web, and searching all the websites is something to be used. And then I could put on the capabilities, but there it can give me information about this news. And why do I have these websites here and telling, okay, search these, is that I want to limit myself to the sources, not just finding every blog post or anything what's out there, but I'm giving it instructions how to do it. So these are two kind of quick examples how you could be creating the agents in using the Microsoft 365 Copilot Chat and Copilot Studio Lite. So this is the Lite version. And by the way, there is going to be an option here to copy this to the Copilot Studio, to the full experience. It's rolling out now. I didn't see it on any of my environment yet, but it's coming there during December, January. So once it's there, you can start and when you notice that, okay, my agent would really need something else as well, hey, let's move it to the Copilot Studio and start adding actions. So business people can create the first agents in there, and then we can start expanding them to give them more capabilities and powers. Okay, I think we are on time, and I wasn't in a hurry, or I didn't keep any hurry because I was the only presenter this time. Okay, not much questions in the chat.
Yeah, but I have a lot of questions for you, Vesa.
Okay.
So, what was the scenarios usually? See, now I can see there is Copilot Studio and Copilot Studio Lite. So, where do you see, in which scenario do I need to use Studio, and which scenarios I need to use Copilot Studio Lite?
Well, the Lite is especially for end users. You need a new agent, you want it quite quickly, or you don't have skills to kind of to handle the Copilot Studio, the full version, because you need to have more knowledge and you need to know more when you go for Copilot Studio. You are champion power user or something else, at least have a bit of training before you go there, so you know what these capabilities are, what's the cost model, how much this costs, what are the triggers, and there's a connectors and so on. So you can create this retrieval, like very simple code interpreter based action agents here in the Copilot Studio Lite version. It's easy, it's fast. Hey, I need an agent to handle my project documentation or answer about those. It needs to have an easy access to my emails. Just one click and I have access to emails. And I just add the emails as the knowledge source. Or I added the SharePoint sites, specific sites there. It's easy and quick. I think that's the thing. We can generate these agents very, very easily. We don't have to know about the technology. We don't need to know about the connectors. We don't need to know about parameters or anything like that. And or you want to do some analysis. Where if you would go to Copilot Studio, full version, create a new agent, you start doing things. Hey, I need to be able to upload these files and so on. But here it's a very, very quick. So you can just use it and attach it. So I would say this is for that kind of scenarios. These agents are not just one-shot agents. You can have a really like something that's helping the team a big time. We have trained over thousands of people in our customers to create agents like this. So this is something you can train to masses easily. Copilot Studio is not. That's not something you train thousands of users in the organization to create those. But in this, hey, perhaps they need to analyze the Excel files, then they can go to instructions on how to specific things, or I want to do more with my emails, so I can give more instructions what I need. instead of just going for Copilot and asking for those, because I would have to copy paste the prompts from somewhere because it might be a very long one. So with the agent, it's easy to get done. With Copilot Studio, and you start connecting it to your emails, you need to go to the connector. It's going to start retrieving the information, but this is getting them directly from the semantic index.
Okay.
So I would say it's for those simple scenarios. Copilot Studio would be an overkill. But I really like the upcoming change that you can copy these agents to Copilot Studio so you can advance them further. And I'm really interested to see how they are going to be doing that when I have my inbox selected or my Outlook. Is it just going to be the connector to the Outlook and or something else? So and how it's going to be done. So there's also in the Copilot Studio you can have the knowledge source. It has different settings there. Then you have the connectors which are online getting the information. So it's easily slower when you are doing that. But you can then think about other things like because you can do so much more in the Copilot Studio. Of course, we can call the other agents, we can call agent flows, we can do good things, and that's where we are going to be building those high impact business agents, because our agents that are impacting business, affecting businesses, because that's where you have more options. Of course, unless you are doing Microsoft Foundry that is.
Perfect. So
Yeah.
let's check if any of our audience have any questions. Feel free to unmute yourself and ask a question, or you can raise a hand, or you can put it in the chat as well. All right. Before someone gets in, I would like to ask one more question. So, what do you see future of building agents, Vesa? Because now we see our basically our ERPs are transformed completely into AI ERP now, and Microsoft is releasing left and right agents. So, what do you see in future? Maybe down the line, what does that will become? So, it's that will you only see agents doing the jobs, or do we still have jobs?
We will still have jobs, but and on top of agents, you will have digital employees. Those are agents, but so the digital employees are coming. And just think about what I was telling about the Agent 365. They will have identity, they will have license, they have permissions, so they will, and computer use with Opal. So and you can create computer use agent, by the way, in Copilot Studio already. So I think you have to start thinking about how I'm becoming an agent boss, and so you are managing your team of agents as well. So you are creating agents that are going to help you to work better and faster, so you can get more things. You can get more things done, or you can get better quality, or you can just and so on. So I think agents will be there doing a lot of things, but they still need human oversight. That's part of the responsible AI values as well. You have to have a human in the loop. You are not going to create an agent that runs the whole process, and you just give it a kind of a permission. Hey, do any decisions you see fit. We know how AI works, and it doesn't always work. So, but of course, we want it to help us as much as possible, so we can get our job to be done easier as well. And yes, it's going to affect, of course, organizations. Some jobs may go away, but there will be new jobs as well. So
Yes.
whatever you do, you keep on learning. It's ongoing. You keep on thinking how I'm going to be utilizing AI in my daily work to get this done better, faster, or more productively. We don't want to. We have so much tedious, like repeating stuff we do. I still remember the times from the 90s when I was going through some log files and trying to find the errors or anything. Come on, or those horrible things when you had to go and change the semicolons to colons in some cases, and search and replace wouldn't work properly, and things like that. Hey, I want agents for all that kind of stuff that has been there. Like analyze that, go through that, so I don't have to go through and do some manually something that the machine can do, because that's where it's going to be a very, very useful. And agents, we'll be seeing them a lot. Microsoft will be providing us agents. We are creating new agents because, of course, if you think about the businesses, all the businesses have their, like, when agents are created for their organization's use case, that's where the value is. So that's
Amazing
that's going to
insights.
be, yeah,
Yes,
that's
definitely. See, the
what's
way
happening.
we were doing consulting has changed the last couple of years, and the way we are using agents became a day-to-day job now. And definitely, we are going to see more agents get deployed. And I can see Microsoft is also fired up to release agents as we speak. And I have seen a lot of agents coming up in Dynamics as well, and in all
Yeah,
the ecosystem. So
yeah.
let's see. It's a good learning. Thank you so much, Vesa, for spending your time for our user group, and I really appreciate your time coming and explaining us all the agentic part of it. And we are really grateful for your session. Thank you. Bye for now.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Useful.
Thank you
Thank you,
also.
everyone.